In this video, I'm going to tell you 35 things I learned in 35 years. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kevin Burciaga, and here at The Rational Eater, I am making eating disorder recovery simple. I recently turned 35 years old. I know, I can't believe it. My parents were 35 when I was born. Now I'm at the same place. But I have learned some things on the way to 35. Most of them the hard way, but not all of them. And to honor my 35th birthday, I thought I would make a video sharing all of my wisdom of 35 years. This video will be two parts, so today will be the first 18 things that I learned. You'll have to wait for the second part. This video is not in any particular order. I just listed these things as it came to my mind. Okay, let's get to it. The first one is be a late adopter. That means that when you see a new idea or there's a new technology, you don't adopt it immediately. Wait for somebody else to adopt it first. There's always going to be people that adopt things as soon as they come out. For example, when PCs first came out in the late 70s, early 80s, most people didn't buy them, but there were a lot of geeks, a lot of people who were really into technology who adopted the technology in the early 80s, and then everybody else followed in the 90s and 2000s. Be one of those people, be a late adopter, because most ideas are going to fizzle out. Most technology will fizzle out. Most things will fizzle out. Number two, simplicity is genius. I forget the philosopher who said that, but if you can take something that is really complex and make it simple and make it understandable, you are a genius. You should always prefer the most simple solution. Look for things that are easy to implement. Look for things that don't require too much time and energy. Look for solutions that are relatively easy and simple to understand. The more moving parts you have, the more opportunities you have to fail. If in doubt, go with the simple solution. And if in doubt, go with the simple explanation. Number three, boring is good. Boring is what makes you successful. Doing boring things over and over and getting better over time, that's how you get successful. That's the road to success. It's not very glamorous, it's not very sexy, you can't make a video about it. But when you look at successful people, that's what they did. They just kept doing the same things and they kept getting better over time. If you want proof, look at your favorite YouTuber and go back and watch his or her first videos. They're really bad, they're not good. The videos you see now, they're really good. Number four, too much stimulation is a bad thing. We live in a world that is filled with stimuli. Sometimes I wish I could go back and live in 1960 or 1970, even 1990. You know, that wouldn't be too bad. You didn't have smartphones, you didn't have all these notifications, you didn't have all of these distractions in life. Our brains are not hardwired for all this stimulation, so you're going to have to manage that stimulation. Find times in the day when you can meditate or you can find quiet time and relax. 20 or 30 minutes of quiet time is not a waste of time. Overstimulating your brain all day, that's not good. Consider not listening to music all the time. Your brain needs a break. So find a break from all the stimuli. Number five, keep showing up. That's another secret to success. You just have to keep showing up. I think it was, what's that actor's name? He played Fonzie in Happy Days. He said, I just showed up. That's how he got the role. He wasn't even planning for that role, but he saw an ad and then he showed up and he did really well and he got the part. Now we all know who he is. You've probably heard it before, but 80% of success is showing up. That means you show up every day and you do the things that you want to improve. For me, that means I show up on YouTube, I make videos, I write emails, I write on Instagram. You have to show up and do the same repetitive, boring tasks, but you also have to get better. But that's the secret formula. And if you look at any successful person, they kept showing up. They kept knocking on the door. Number six, buy experiences, not things. When I drive through a neighborhood, I'll see these garages, these two-car garages, and they'll be filled from floor to ceiling with just stuff that they're not using. And they worked hard, long hours to earn the money to buy all that stuff, and they're not using it. I think one thing my generation does better than the boomers is we place more emphasis on experiences. You know, we want to travel more. We want to go to restaurants and sporting events and concerts. Those things are coming back slowly, but I think millennials and probably Gen Zers emphasize experiences more than having things, just more stuff, you know, bigger house and more cars and more furniture and more things that don't really make you happy. Number seven, end bad relationships soon. That could be a relationship with your job, You know, if you're in a bad job, you need to look for something else. And if you can't do that because you need to pay the bills, then you need to be working on an exit plan. Maybe you are in a bad relationship with a significant other, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and it's time to leave. You can leave that whenever you want, but there is a cost to it because sometimes those relationships provide security, comfort, and predictability. Maybe you have a bad relationship with food. Maybe you're binge eating. Maybe you're bulimic. Maybe you're chewing and spitting your food. That's not a good relationship. So the sooner you can break that relationship, the better. Number 8, speaking of binge eating and other unhealthy behaviors, unchecked desire and unchecked appetite will ruin you. How many careers have been destroyed because somebody had an unchecked appetite? Think about it. Think about past presidents and movie directors. Their entire careers were destroyed because they had this unchecked desire. Think about all of the actors and people on Wall Street and corporate CEOs who have a drug addiction. That is unchecked desire. So an unchecked appetite, whether it's with sex or food, alcohol, whatever, it can ruin your life. Keep those basic primordial desires in check. Number 9, always be learning something. You have to be learning. Back in the day, you could go to college, you could go to grad school, you could get your degree, and then you could kind of coast for 20 or 30 years. You know, the world didn't change that much. You could stay at one job, one position, one company for 25, 30 years, and you could expect a pension at the end. Those days are over. Okay, those days ended in 2008. That was the year I graduated from college. I didn't know it, but now I know. That's when that era ended. These days, technology is changing, platforms are changing, consumer demand is changing. We live in a very fast-paced world, so you always have to be learning new skills. Number 10, closely related to that one, is you always have to be adapting. Look at the last year. Look at how well some people adapted in the last year. Think about the cruise ship industry. Think about the travel industry. Think about office buildings. Think about schools. We have had to adapt. You know, humans are a very adaptable species, but the people who adapt the best will win. And if you're in business, you have to adapt all the time. You have to constantly be pivoting. You have to be looking at the trends. What's happening? How do I adapt to this? How do I adapt to that? You cannot remain static. You cannot remain in one place. It's not the strongest that survive, it's the most adaptable. Number 11, I ran out of fingers. Balance entertainment with work. The speaker and the author, Brian Tracy, he has something called the EVE ratio, entertainment versus education ratio. What percentage of the time are you educating yourself versus the amount of time you are entertaining yourself? Or maybe it's the opposite, but it doesn't matter. If you're listening to music all day, you know, I drive past some of these cars and you can hear the subwoofer going boom, 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 boom. Like, they're not getting a lot of education, it's all entertainment. Take inventory. You know, how much time are you spending on entertainment versus education? You can educate yourself all day, every day. We have audiobooks, we have YouTube, which is what you're watching right now, we have podcasts, and a lot of this stuff is free. There's no reason not to be learning stuff. 20 or 30 years ago, I guess I could forgive you because if you were driving, what else did you have? You had radio. If you were really driven, you could have gone to the library and got, you know, a book on tape by Tony Robbins. Now we have so much content and so much media. There is no excuse to be educating yourself more than entertaining yourself. Number 12, be grateful. Every day when you wake up, take inventory of what you have. Do you have 2 legs? Do you have 2 arms? Do you have 2 eyes? Do you have 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, 1 heart? Do you have 2 parents? Do you have your siblings? Do you have consciousness? You know, that might be the greatest gift of all because one day you won't be conscious. All of that can disappear very fast. That's a sobering reality. You know, recently I lost a family member. It was an uncle. Nobody expected him to die, and just one day I got an email that said, hey, you know, Kevin, your uncle's dead. What? I couldn't believe it, but things can change. At least I was grateful to have him while he was alive. Be grateful because things can go south really, really fast. 13, focus might be one of the most underrated skills right now. I was talking about distraction earlier. If you can focus on one thing for 30 minutes or an hour, you already have a leg up. Focusing, sitting still, meditating, these are really hard to do. I think this is why meditation has taken off, because we live in this overstimulated world. It's noisy, or we're distracted all the time. We have all of these buzzers, And I think we are finally realizing that we need the quiet time, and we're realizing that it's really hard to do. Every day, tens of thousands of thoughts are going through your head. There's never a point where nothing is going on in your brain. Okay, even when you're sleeping, your brain is still highly active. Give your brain a break, sit still, and focus. Can you do one task and complete it for half an hour, 2 hours? It is a great skill to have. 14, be a long-term thinker and think like an investor. Investors think long-term. They invest money now and they expect a greater return later. That's the definition of investing. You sacrifice something today for something better in the future. That's a good concept for recovery. You're trading something good today. You're sacrificing tasty food. You're sacrificing the escape and the entertainment and the pleasure today so you can have something better tomorrow. Maybe that's sanity. Maybe that's control over your thoughts. Maybe that's a better physique, a certain weight, whatever. Successful people know that you have to sacrifice things today to get what you want in the future. You cannot have everything you want. 15, you can have anything you want, just not everything. You can't be a master of everything. You're only going to be a master of 1, 2, maybe 3 things in your life. You can only have so many girlfriends. You can only have one spouse. You can only go one place for vacation at one time, of course. You get my point. You can have anything, but at some point you're going to have to select. And you're going to have to say no to everything else. 16, learn to say no. Hey, learning to say no is a good thing. It's probably the first word you learned when you were a kid. No, no, no. You say no all the time. So if you're watching this video, you're saying no to all the other videos that are on YouTube right now. If you read this book, you're saying no to everything else. Don't say yes just because it's easy in the moment. I've said yes to things and then it ends up costing me time and money down the road, all because I didn't have the balls to say no. Protect your time, protect your life, protect your body, say no. This applies to recovery as well. Sometimes you have to say no to things that are not good for you. Sometimes you want the escape and the pleasure of all that sugar and fat, but you have to say no. This is not what I want. This is not who I am. I want something better for my life. 17, be skeptical. Be skeptical of not only new ideas, but also be skeptical of what you already believe. Be skeptical of numbers and statistics too. Somebody once said that 80% of stated statistics are made up on the spot. That might be true. Be skeptical of what you read. Be skeptical of really sensational claims. Be skeptical of hyperbole. Don't buy things the first time you hear. I used to do this when I was younger. I would hear it one time, I'd see it in a magazine, and I would immediately incorporate it. I didn't have any filters. I didn't have a process to vet that information. Be skeptical. It won't hurt you. And finally, 18, do hard things when they are easy. Save for retirement when you're young. Build a roof when it's not raining. Save money when you don't need it. Raise capital when you don't need the capital. I could come up with many more examples, but do hard things when they're easy. What are some hard things that you are not preparing for right now? Okay, that's it for part 1. Which was your favorite, and what are some things that you have learned in your life? Let me know in the comments below. How can The Rational Eater help you? 3 ways. 1, subscribe to this channel. I'm releasing new content all the time. Number 2, subscribe to my email list. I send tips and advice 6 to 7 days a week. And when you subscribe to my email list, you'll also be able to watch a video that I've put together that is not on YouTube that explains desire de-escalation. That's the method that I use to stop chewing and spitting, binge eating, and bulimia. And finally, number 3, join the community in my free Facebook group, The Rational Eating Masterclass. The links for all of those are in the box below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there. And as always, eat the way you're designed to.